Welcome to LaTB, the only podcast that comes with a free Bandits bonus.
Card delivery included.
LaTB, where MMA and UFC get silly. This is the LaTB podcast.
Welcome back. LaTB episode 243. UFC Sao Paulo breakdown. Cheney, what are we going to get into today?
So, first we are going to recap UFC Moscow and talk about Zabit and whether he's all that or not and whatever anyone thinks. Then we're going to get into the Twitterverse. We have a new segment that we're going to hashtag QLATB. That's questions at LaTB. And we'll go through some of those. Fight Pick Championship, shit talk,
Of course,
standings,
Woo!
who won, who lost, where does Ricky stand?
Everybody wants to know.
Everybody wants to know. They're on the edge of their seat. Then what you're all here for, we're finally going to break down, fight pick, and prediction UFC Sao Paulo, Brazil, Jacare versus that other dude.
Jan, the Blachowicz.
You know I know who Jan
Woo!
is.
Your boyfriend. Down
I love
from
Jan.
the European scene. Jan's been a long time favorite.
Polish?
He is a Polish prince.
Polish prince. Jan
Juicy Blachowicz. Woo! Can't wait for that one. What a tentative card we have. We've been having some heaters, but I really feel like when we finally get into that one, it is going to be a fun one. There's going to be money to be made, but woo! It's not the last 2 weeks in a row. We've really been having some amazing fight cards. UFC Russia didn't disappoint. It was also not the most exciting at times. A lot of people had predicted decisions as the week had gone on, and a lot of that came to fruition. It ended up starting off with Davey Grant upsetting the more local Gregory Popov in a decision. Davey Grant just looked bigger in there. This was a dirty split. Didn't put it anywhere. Popov was like 9,000 on DK. Do you even remember much of the fight? Because it was fairly uneventful.
Nope.
Gonna be tentative on either guy moving forward, especially Popov.
I stayed away from it altogether. I had Popov just because I let everyone sway me, but neither guy. It was a close fight. I didn't think it was egregious, but I saw a lot of people thought Popov won.
There was a ref in that first fight that actually didn't have, I think, a second or even third groin shot where he didn't take a point. He just gave them more time and then was like, Popov, come on, you got to go, you got to be ready. And it's like, dude, that should at least be a point by this time because they were clear-cut shots to the groin. Luckily, they got over that.
It wasn't Chaos Eye like Logan Paul where he got 2 points taken.
It was not. Wow, what a freak show that was, but still the highest ranked
didn't watch
Bandits
it.
show.
I really just saw that.
Gifts
everybody,
only.
yeah.
Gifts only. That's all I caught of it. But what was a way better fight, one better than all of those put together, was Pannie Kianzad coming in over Jessica Rose Clark. I ended up switching my pick on this. Initially, I had Pannie. I thought she was going to come in and get it done with her wrestling. I backed off of that after the size and just, them booty shots. Jessica Rose Clark's got my number. Get them abs showing, and I'm like, oh, okay, she's got something. Nope. All glamour muscles.
I went with Clark, and I switched the other way, and I was glad that I did.
Whoa, Pannie looked like an all-star in there.
She looked great in there. She was putting everything together very nicely, well-rounded.
Beautiful punch combinations.
Jessica Clark was in it, but I just think that Pannie ran through her.
I agree, and you want to be a fighter, you want to be a female fighter in the UFC, you might have to give up some of them glamour shots. Pannie putting out a candid gif out there. I know LaTB retweeted it, showing the toothless wonder. Pannie already missing one of them digits up in the front, so good on her. Means she's not getting her head movement around enough in there, or other stuff, I don't know, but
or she needs, more calcium? I don't know.
Definitely more head movement, and it should get her through there, but really liked what I saw from Pannie. Moving forward, she's going to be someone that I'm going to be putting money behind for sure if she can keep performing like that. Then we ended up having Roosevelt Roberts at 155 pounds against Alexander Yakovlev. Decision, I was in on Yakovlev. The line tightened up. He was a plus 140. It ended up shrinking to near even. Roberts, though, ran away with this fight pretty handedly. His striking, that I didn't give credit to, really looked great in the pocket there. His right hand was flicking out there all 3 rounds. He threatened with that guillotine nonstop and really controlled the position a lot better. Yakovlev was always a skinny 70-pounder. He looked skeletal in there at 155 pounds. I did not like it for Yakovlev. What do you think about the machinist in there?
I had Yakovlev as well. Roosevelt Roberts really impressed me. I don't think Alexander's a walkthrough at all. Like you're saying, I liked his hands. I liked his hips. I liked everything he was doing in there, and I think this is what, when they say this new breed of fighter, it's just that they're so young getting into the game with this skill set that we're seeing him just grow leaps and bounds every fight that is kind of unprecedented before then, So I liked that everything I saw from Roosevelt Roberts. He could be sneaky or everyone could see him coming.
He's growing. He's only had 3 years MMA training in general, so sky's the limit right now that he's actually getting exposed to some high-level potential in there. And going across the pond, going across the big ocean over there, and getting a big win in enemy territory is just going to help build your credentials that much more. So great showing by the young man. Then we ended up moving to one of the biggest upsets of the night at 170 pounds. We told you that last name was giving all sorts of credibility that did not need to be there. The debuting Akabara Nurmagomedov ended up getting submitted via triangle choke by David Zawada. It was a quick one in there. Ended up having pretty much no exposure to Zawada, maybe 1 or 2 cards, but Nurmagomedov on 3 or 4 just because of that name value. So that really ended up shitting some of my cards. Really shit in bed. And what did you take away from the Nurmagomedov in this?
All the same. I wish I would have known better.
We said it.
I know, and all the same stuff. It ruined my cards a little bit too. This was kind of the start. I was actually glad the beginning of my night wasn't going well. Because for some reason, the way my nights usually go is I either kill it at the beginning or kill it at the end. And usually I run and fall off a cliff with my picks, or I stumble and then take off and flight. And that's more so what happened in the good way. So I wasn't even mad. At this point, I'm like, whatever. FPC, whatever about my DK tonight. I didn't go heavy in the paint. I try to stay away from the early cards. But I was just looking forward to this fight pick championship. So when he lost this, I'm like, ooh, it already made me feel good about my man Herman. This fight already made me feel good about that.
If there was a narrative, like when you were in China, it was all Chinese fighters winning. When you went to Russia, in Moscow, there was very few of them winning. I mean, it was upset city. There was a lot of people switching over all sorts of money, so it was definitely a fun night of fights. I know people were shitting on it, but there was some interesting matchups in it. And in one of those, at 185 pounds, we had Carl Robertson defeating Roman Kaipolov.
About Zawada and
Nurmagomedov.
I'm not excited about either going forward.
I agree with that.
Okay. Yeah, anyone that's going to get high on Zawada, I'm like, have fun with that. Have fun. I'll bet against the other guy. Anyways.
Great point.
Not even
Great
match
point.
dependent.
So that's where I was like, yeah, we don't really need to go back to that one because it was really quick and out of nowhere. You're right on that. But one that was interesting, I was saying Carl Robertson picking apart Kaipolov. I was coming in on the young man thinking he was going to be able to really show off his striking skills, but the leg kick, that leg kick this fight just completely took the karate or the Sandow specialist all the way away. He wasn't even switching stances. He just kept eating those kicks, not even checking them. And it was a theme for the foreigners. I feel like low kicks was the theme of the night, or leg kicks, and that set up the rest of the game. I still think Roman can get in here and do well. I think Robertson's finally starting to put it together, and I actually like both guys moving forward. This is the first loss for Roman here. I like what I saw in there, even though he did take a beating. It's like, okay, now you learned a lesson. what are you going to do now? He's only 27, 28 years old, so I'm excited for either guy. Robertson, put him in there with anyone at 185 pounds. He can keep going.
Agree. I agree with all that.
Then we ended up moving to Rustam Khabilov coming in over Sergey Kondosko. Unanimous decision. This was about the most lock of the night play you could get. The one that you could bet as much money as you wanted. And it pretty much played out that way. Khabilov didn't blow him out of the water. Kondosko looked humongous in there, but just didn't have enough of the skills. There's nothing really to say. They kind of stay where they're at. Rustam should really be fighting much higher competition than Kondosko, and it showed in there.
Yeah, unless he's on all the TRT in the world, we're only going to see him fight in Russia from this point forward.
I think that was a narrative throughout the night as well. There was really interesting
Or just young guys that they want to build names for that need to get their UFC fights under their belt. But yeah, there was... To me, the fight card, for the time of the day it was like a C. It wasn't great.
Well, that was definitely one that didn't stick out throughout the night.
No, I feel like that fight summed up how I felt about the entire fight card.
I feel like that's probably a pretty good summation of how it ended up going. Then we ended up having a finish, finally waking us up in there. We had Ankalaev, one of the most expensive fighters on the night on DK, knocking out Dalcha Lakiambula, champion himself in there. Front kick, gonna be on a highlight reel. There was a fun gif and some fun videos going around of showing the Anderson Silva and the Machida Randy Couture knockouts and how they all fell at the exact same. When that foot comes up the middle and lands like that, it's just like you go
night
puppets without a string. Just whoop, everything goes out. Lakiambula actually kept it together better than most of those other guys, but there didn't need to be a follow-up. Dalcha in there being nothing but a powerhouse. He strained on one of those attempts in the throw in the first round where I was like, well, there goes any bet that I made on him. I spattered some inside the distance just because of his power, but against any technical fighter, Lakiambula is one of these guys that you can beat with technique, grind him up against the cage. Once you're 2 minutes in, he has none of that strength left. He can spurt here and there, but Ankalaev getting a highlight finish. Nothing but good work. He should be finishing guys like this with the hype train he came in on. Paul Craig just really did a number on his career trajectory. He'll get ya. He'll get you, and he's going to be...
Tripped up in that Paul Craig barbed wire. Got tripped up.
So we'll see if a Brazilian can get that done later on in the podcast when we get into that one. Do you take anything away from these fighters?
No.
Then we had... The Fight Pick Championships start off when the heat started to turn up. We had Gamzatov, the debuter, getting a dirty split over Abreu. I honestly thought Abreu won this fight. Gamzatov's shin, was it? No, that wasn't. That's the next fight. My bad. But either way, I don't remember much of this fight with Abreu other than I remember him being the more engaging fighter, pushing forward more, and Gamzatov just kind of reacting instead of trying to win the fight. If they were in any other place than Russia, it would have went the other way.
I kind of agree with that, and it was a close fight. It wouldn't have been egregious either way. So I kind of saw it going the way that it did. I didn't think it was a robbery, but whatever. It was a boring decision, and that's what I thought it was going to be. So it started off my Fight Pick Championship with that Hot 25. Woo! I like to call it a Hot 25. Hot 25.
I was feeling all that Hot 25 as well.
That's the new hot single from the Fight Pick Championships.
Woo! So definitely fun way to start off the Fight Pick Championships, putting people in their place, letting you know who we had in there. Another big one, another moneymaker for us here at LaTB. If you're following along at Zol tonight, you're trying to make that money early. I know the line changed, but that's because people started putting bets on as soon as these picks came out for us. We told you hit on Rocco Martin while you had the time at plus 140. That line dramatically went to near even by fight time, and then it was all Tony Martin. 3 rounds, 30-27 in Russia. I mean, that shin for Amiv was completely gone. He was growing a leg off of his leg from those calf kicks.
It was nasty. It looked like, have you ever seen Total Recall when the guy takes him in the cave and he opens his shirt?
And it's the that was growing out of his leg.
That's what I thought was happening.
Oh, absolutely. I was surprised he could stand in there after some of those. I mean, Martin eating a shot with that jab from Emeev, but then returning fire and just getting the better of him. My time. What did Tony Martin kept coming in, walked in, saying, it's my time, being mantic. The announcers talking about it, saying, man, he's putting on a show, he's going to kind of gas in there. He's a man possessed. And we all found out why afterwards in the post-fight press conference.
I didn't. What?
He just found out that his mother, the one who named him Rocco, has stage 4 cancer.
That hurt my heart afterwards.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the post-fight press conference. I was like, I didn't watch it.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
I thought you said post-fight presser. Yeah, when he was, that was heartbreaking. That choke, got a little choked
even better, made that PMP that much sweeter.
Oh. No, it didn't make it sweeter.
Why you can't? That can be okay.
A healthy mom would have made it the sweetest.
I would
but
agree.
I knew
that
what
would
you
be
meant.
the sweetest.
I knew what you meant. His touching sentiment.
Definitely hope them the best and everything works out for them, because that's going to be rough for anyone.
That was insane.
That he goes across the country into enemy territory and puts on that type of performance with that in the back of his mind. Him getting choked up. It was too early for that bullshit. I ended up getting something in my eye during that whole little sentiment. So
yeah, and both you and I had Martin decision on our Fight Pick Championship. So then we were all like, Hot 25. We got another Hot 25. Hitting it up, Hot 25. And I don't think a lot of other people had that. So that was a good one.
That was a great pick. Here at LaTB, always bringing in the hot picks. If I would have followed you on this next one, I would have been spot on. The short notice replacement, Ibrahimov, Kadizin here, ended up laying a big old egg in there, gassing out in the first 2 minutes by grappling with Ed Herman, initiating that clinch. And Ed Herman's like, oh, cool, I can do this. And then decided to put a beating on the young man, putting him in his place. I mean, Ed Herman looked like an all-star out there. He was putting on a Dan Kelly type of performance. Loved everything I saw in there. He was eating some big shots initially, and once Ibrahimov, Kadizin here, realized he couldn't knock him out, he was just like, oh no, now I'm in a fight. That nose was busted.
I love Ed Herman. He's my hero. I love that he did this. But I more so am Ibrahimov is not the jam. I was surprised. I'm like, no, he's worse than Ed Herman. So Ed Herman decision, another Hot 25. I capped another Hot 25. I was rolling it up.
You were hot.
And I was feeling really hot. I was like, could there possibly be anyone that's even coming close to doing how good I'm doing right now? And so when I went over to our little Discord page and then I was looking, there was one person who was doing the exact same good as me. And it's the person that ended up winning overall.
Oh, the pink-eyed bandit.
Yeah. If you guys aren't following the World Winning Federation, you should be. It's pretty funny, but he also has great picks going right now, and he's not only won this week, but he's also winning the whole Fight Pick Championships. He's in first place.
If you heard who I had as a dark horse, thinking, there's something in that eye. There's a gleam in that eye. And he's doing fairly well. I'm coming for you.
He's got the future behind that eye patch. Not a picture of Macy Barber, but the actual future.
So, definitely on the radar. Good for him. The big pink winning machine. Good job. You deserve all the praise. But don't think we sleeping on you, boy. Don't think we ain't coming for you. So, it was definitely a good showing for a lot of people, but mainly up here in LaTB Studios, we're sitting hot and pretty as the Fight Pick Championship goes on. Then we move on to Danny Roberts getting a TKO finish over Zalim Imadayev. This was a right hand that ended up face planting the Russian fighter. Danny Roberts' chin looking all sorts of good in there. He was putting a great game plan together, and he's always had the skills For me, it was just the gas tank and chin issues, but it looked like he shored those up really quickly. And in 5 months, I mean, he ate some shots.
He did eat some shots, and I was like, oh, yeah! Oh!
And he's fine.
Oh! And so I liked everything Danny Roberts had to show. Maybe he got a nutritionist. Maybe he figured out how to cut weight better so he's not dehydrated or something and has a better chin. I don't know. I'm a little scared to be high on Danny Roberts at this point, but it was a good showing.
I agree. Great showing. It's the potential that we see, and then he'll, for some reason, slip on a banana peel in there and end up getting knocked out by a nobody, or not a nobody, but just somebody that he should be beating in there. So, always like Danny Roberts' skills. It's always just been that chin. Going to be a little sketched out still moving forward with him, but amazing showing. Imadaev.
I'm like, no one could have had Danny Roberts KO. And you know who did. That's the fight that cost me having like such beautiful picks. He at least had Danny Roberts. I don't know if he had KO.
It was all decisions.
Yeah, I don't know if he had KO or not.
But either way, he ended up getting a score for that, and there wasn't many who picked Danny Roberts.
We're talking about
big
the world-winning federation is by he who will not be named. The big pink machine. The pink machine.
Oh, he will be named. Many a names.
I can't say it again or he'll show up right here. I'll be on the TV.
Eventually in time, if you've been with us long enough, you're knowing that the evolution's coming, so there might be some glamour and shots come up as we move on. Moving on to the co-main event, unless you have anything left for those two gentlemen, we had Alexander Volkov coming in over Greg Hardy. This was a 3-round decision. Hardy breaking his hand supposedly in that first round. Volkov putting on a clinic, just showing why he's one of the best strikers in the world. I really liked, as I said before, with Hardy's performance, is he didn't quit in there. He showed that he's still adapting, but he's still really young in his mixed martial arts career. So as far as a competitor, he's doing everything I like in there. Still don't like him for all that other stuff, but competing-wise, he's going to be able to beat a lot of other heavyweights right now.
He's getting better and better. I don't think he's capped by any means. I think Volkov's that good, and he fixed all the holes. I liked the shots even Volkov took from Hardy. I like that Hardy did fix his cardio issues and went that far and taking huge shots against Volkov. I think both guys performed well and above expectations to everybody. I know it was silly for me to have a decision Hardy watching the fight. It's exactly what should have happened in the fight, was Volkov walking away with it and just putting on a clinic. But
if I needed a hot 25, a hot 25,
you got one.
A hot 25.
You got that hot 25, hot 25.
The remixes are a bit on fire lately. So definitely doing well as far as championship's sake. Then we ended up moving to the main event. It was 3 in Russia. Everyone called it an atrocity when it was all said and done. We told you if it would have went 5, just like Yair Stevens. And the same reason I was like, man, I shouldn't be picking Stevens, but still, because I had him in 5, Qatar would have potentially won this 5-rounder, because as I was saying, I've been watching Zabit gas in every single one of his fights. I watched the tape and was like, it doesn't matter. He takes the third round off. So Qatar showing that he can bleed, that Zabit is a human being. And there are a lot of people, I feel like, jumping off that bandwagon, especially when Ali Abdelaziz ended up making it 3 rounds and being like, no, because Qatar openly was like, hey, I signed 5 that day. To this day, I signed 5. He's telling people, and Zabit's like, nah, I don't want that, bro. I don't want that, even though it's the main event.
It didn't. The UFC didn't have to make it the main event. They decided to. They could have found another fight to do it. They were just kind of the bigger names on the card. I think that's good management. If you know your guy can't go 5, don't let him sign for 5.
Great point. Secures that W. Secures that dub.
But he did totally get winded in the third. It's a question that I've been thinking of, because you said Yair, and that's, I think, a perfect fight for both guys, Zabit versus Yair.
Ducking season.
It will come to questions later on too. But with that style, or even who's your other Silent Bob, with that kind of flashy style where they explode like that, maybe it is you only get 10 minutes of having that kind of crazy flash style.
Who's Silent Bob?
Oh, Violent Bob.
Oh, Violent, okay.
Violent Bob, Silent Bob. Who's Silent Bob? Silent Bob's from The Simpsons.
No. It's from Jay and Silent Bob, but yeah.
Oh shit, yeah.
Still, good recommendation out there, but definitely The Beast. Definitely getting a little busted in there, getting a little...
So I look at it two ways, and this is the other thing too. Isn't it also fair to say that still, look at all the people that had Calvin Kattar to win this fight? Shouldn't it say that since Zabit went 3 with him and still won, shouldn't that say something about his cardio? Maybe Calvin Kattar's still that good.
Great point.
I don't know.
That's the good way to think about it. I'm over here being a curmudgeon and being like, man, I'm on 5 rounds right now.
I like both guys going forward still.
100%.
And did you hear that Zabit could have had staph or a staph infection or something that he was getting over? Some kind of weird infection.
I did not hear that. Interesting.
Yeah, I think he said it afterward, but it was hard with the translator to really get it. But
definitely, it was a Russian red dream that we had over in that part of the world. Then we're going to take a big jump all the way down.
Oh, yeah. So congrats real fast again to the World Winning Federation and the Fight Pick Championships. I bet you all wish you could have that Hot 25. You need that Hot 25. I got second place.
Woo!
And you
Cheney, big star.
You're sitting third right now overall.
You're sitting fourth.
Fourth overall. So I do think... it's the MMA marks took Hot out the gate. And got winded.
They did.
You just stayed a steady pace the whole time.
Of course, the consistency. Mr. Consistency over here.
I'm like manic and depressed.
You got to have a little variation. Life's got to be a little bit fun in there.
Anyways, moving on.
To the Twitterverse. We got quite a bit of Twitter information going around. Some of the hottest tracks as of late are
Twitter fiascos.
Many have gone down, but some of the highest profile ones
are, so first, Tyson Fury training MMA with Darren Till. What do you think of this?
Tyson Fury also accepting a fight. Is it with Stipe in boxing? And
oh my gosh, I don't even know. I've seen Ngannou, I've seen Stipe.
Tyson said he'll take it on because it's all easy money, but as far as MMA training, yes, because it's heavyweights, he's going to have a little bit more in there, and he's the type of athlete that's proven that he can stick to a game plan and learn. I would love to see Tyson Fury in the heavyweight division, but I would definitely say take him to one of those super camps, get him over in ATT. Don't be just practicing with Darren Till and think you're going to be an MMA fighter.
Point. That's a really good point. If you are Tyson Fury, go to one of the better camps.
Right. Don't just practice at some random gym, because any gym owner is going to be like, you guys want to train here? Come on. Like, it could be anywhere.
Darren Till might be at a great camp. Who knows? I don't know.
Consistency tells me that...
ATT, though, if you got that Tyson Fury money,
exactly.
Why not?
Go ATT would probably sponsor it. They'd probably sponsor it because he'd bring in that much.
Coast.
Exactly. Yeah. Florida. Everybody loves Florida.
Yeah,
so.
You might as well. So there's that. And then staying in boxing a little bit with Tyson Fury, did you see everything going on with this bare knuckle to November 16th?
I saw some sparring rounds in the bathrooms between Jason Knight and 2 patrons at a bar. Did you see that?
I saw that too. How crazy!
He knocked out one of them.
I know, that's bullshit.
But they cornered him. They cornered him because you could see them. Like his foot was in the damn toilet. He was throwing inside elbows, uppercuts in there. Really interested to see what the bare knuckle commission's going to do. Probably nothing.
Yeah, I don't know what they would possibly do. But 2 guys cornered him in the bathroom. I don't know what they expected to happen.
Right, it's Jason Knight.
But the reason I even brought it up, which is crazy that happened after I already cut this for this, is I saw that Johnny Bedford versus Charles Bennett And I thought that was your boy, Felony. Isn't that Charles Bennett?
That is no longer Felony. What's he known as now?
I thought Felony was the new name.
No,
Yeah, Felony's the name I think he told us. The old name you guys used to know him as
Crazy
Horse. Yeah.
That's right. But now he's not going by Felony. I know he's going by Charles Bennett. His real
Charles
name.
Bennett. Yeah, so Charles Bennett. Anyways, I just thought it was interesting. Like, I didn't know he was fighting bare knuckle.
So Phil Baroni's on that card as well. So if you know anything about Phil Baroni, his MMA tenure has always been long-standing. Chase Sherman always being one of my old school boys. He had to move to bare knuckles because he was too violent for the UFC.
Yeah, so. Chase Sherman. Those Chase Sherman fights.
So definitely the GOAT's going to get it done in there with the Florida native in there. It's going to be a fun GIF match. I'd probably watch it in one of those 2-minute clips that people can put on YouTube. But as far as like actually ordering it, you'd be crazy to get.
You'd be crazy.
Get out of here.
Bare Knuckles trying to steal MMA Mark's logo.
Oh,
look at I just.
Oh, that is a good. I was like, where have I seen that before?
Yeah. Then the other thing that I thought was interesting for myself, because I suffer from migraines. Rose used to get migraines until Jessica Andrade slammed her on her head.
Oh, interesting.
Isn't that so crazy?
Public service announcement. Go out to your local jiu-jitsu school, get slammed on your head, it might fix it.
Yeah, it's like Jessica Andrade. But then she said she used to get migraines in the workup for fights. And I'm like, has she fought since then? How would she know?
She also said that the belt in general made her feel really anxious.
Heavy and anxious.
Exactly. And she, broke down in her interview when she was getting blown up by all of the callers because Ariel Helwani dropped her phone number in the screening right beforehand. Did you end up seeing any of that?
Oh, I did hear about it, where people are like, that'll give her a migraine.
100%. So definitely Ariel, interesting. They don't mess up much, especially now at ESPN, but that's a big one.
Yeah, come on. She could sue for that. Shelly suing Connor, suing ESPN. So I'm going to try to pull up the UFC releases when they're... So Gil Melendez got released from the UFC.
Correct.
Had no idea he wasn't already released from the UFC. I saw it and I'm like, is this old news? Also, Curtis Melinder, which actually bums me out. I was liking his trajectory.
We talked a little bit about this.
And then Andre Salcanthath.
Which we said as well, the Asian sensation. All of them have PFL and Bellator right up their alley. So they're actually going to probably get a pay increase because they actually come in with formal UFC fighter. They don't come in at $5,000 or is it $1,000 when they start out at Bellator. So especially Gil, he's going to go into Bellator and be a stepping stone for anyone. He might be able to beat some guys, but Scott Coker doesn't try to give those guys wins. He tries to put them up against Venom Page.
To show,
like
look how bomb Bellator is. We beat UFC guys up and down.
Yeah, don't get it twisted. He'll pay you, but you also get your ass kicked. So,
okay, what about GSP's secret wedding to Vivica A. Fox? It's really not Vivica A. Fox.
She could be your stunt double, though. God dang.
She's good looking.
Definitely. We said this a LaTB conspiracy years ago, I feel. But it finally came to fruition. What I was more surprised about was the 3 children that they had together.
I thought it was just one. You surprised me when you said, oh no, it's 3.
It's 3.
It's the GSP 3.
Oh yeah. Been able to keep in this secret from all of us for off and on for 7 years. Heard rumblings that he used to like certain type of nightclubs, and it's okay. Everybody's got their preferences. You do you, boo. I'm happy for GSP. I'm even happier that he has kids. Good for him. Good thing he's able to provide for him now that he has, hit dinosaur shows on History Channel.
Okay, speaking of kids, and then also Conor McGregor apparently did a DNA swab.
Ooh, this is what I've been also. I am the gossip of freaking the MMA Twitterverse.
And he is also not the father of...
Maury declared it himself. You are not the father. Who the fuck is the father? Nobody knows.
I know everyone's like, oh, look, that kid has blondie red hair. Well, half of Ireland has blondie red
Probably more than half.
Yeah, honestly.
So, definitely, he's been acquitted. If it didn't fit, he must have quit.
But the best thing I saw is like, okay, how about we stop looking at the DNA swab for Connor and whether or not he's the father of that kid, and we start looking at the DNA swab and those rape kits. Not laughing about rape, but it is so true. The truth sometimes is funny. And that is so true. This is like not important compared to those other two stories of rape allegations.
Agreed. But it is definitely a win, if there could be a win for McGregor right now with as much negative publicity as he's been getting of late.
Do you think he put it out there?
I would have, if I were him, I would have put the test up and been like, look, it's some of the fucking guys.
Yeah, if it's real.
It ain't me. So
if it's real, but I guess it's like pretty proof positive that it's not his. So
I feel like in court, it came up in court, so it's like official.
Him and D, that there's not another little Mad McGregor walking around.
Oh, I'm sure there is. She's just probably paid off.
Okay, so the other thing, the hashtag QLATB, we'll go into the questions real quick. That's all I have in the Twitterverse for today for you. That runs through.
Ooh, so new headlining segment, QLATB.
And thank gosh we have friends in the podcast community. I didn't think about it to put out ahead of time, but maybe you guys, if you're thinking about it anytime and you're just like, I wonder what LatB thinks of that. Hashtag QLATB. QLATB, and we'll drum them up every week, and the best ones we will answer on air, and the worst ones.
There it is. So some of these delectable questions we have
is fighting with myself at FWM_POD wrote, curious to know, what is both of your favorite fight of all time?
Mine has been a steady standard.
What's your
I have too many, but it is Frankie Edgar, Tyson Griffin. They're both debut back like UFC 23, something like that.
I thought about it, and the first one that came, I was like, oh my gosh, how could I ever even think of my favorite fight of all time? But I feel like the one that got me the most emotional and maybe fell in love, that I'm like, oh my gosh, anything can happen. Oh my gosh, I love this sport. And it was the whole fight night was a great fight night. I think it was McGregor, Connor won. When Miesha Tate submitted Holly Holm. That
Classic
was like my
comeback.
favorite. I love that fight. It always comes back into my head of just like, oh my gosh, getting pieced apart, the whole fight. And it was almost Miesha's last great moment in the UFC.
It's definitely substantial. Mine is much more low-key because it was nothing. People don't even really remember that fight, but I just remember seeing the absolute dogfight from both fighters in there and just being like, this is the future. And I just remember being like, yes, it's not just Kurokushins or whatever. It's high-level wrestlers learning it all. Like, ooh, we just took a big step in MMA. People are going to learn.
My second favorite fight is really recent.
Oh, please,
really
if it's recent.
The Kelvin Gastelum Israel fight.
Oh.
I love that.
Instant classic.
I love that fight.
I'm going to say Shogun, Hua, Dan Henderson. Either one of those were... MMA gods jizz their pants in those fights. It was unbelievable. Both of those were just knockout brawls. One especially. Yeah.
So that is the first question. We actually have another one from Juice later on, just because I wanted to put at least 4 in, and I only asked an hour or something before the show, a few hours before the show. The next one from Juice is, what is the most challenging part of hosting an MMA podcast?
Interesting. Great question. It's just constantly having to be up for me with how many next fights there is, how many debuting fighters, and then also, well, I guess it's not hard because I love what I do. Because I just find it and I'm like, oh, I didn't know this about GSP, and then all of a sudden I'm in a Reddit rabbit hole and I'm just like, ooh, this is deep. So
I think all the technical jargon,
by far.
I wish it was just easy, like I could press a button and have Juice on right now. And we're going to try to work that out, actually. Or have the MMA marks up here on a split screen. Or have, the World Winning Federation could creep up. And you would just see his head and then he'd creep back down. Like, I want all this other technical stuff. The audio, I still think could be a little crisp. I wish we had all the money in the world to spend on things like that. That's just the most. But... fun. I like talking to the fans. I like learning new stuff, changing my mind because when you say it on air, you are writing something in stone.
It is.
It took me a long time to just be like, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to change my mind sometimes. Like, it can't be written in stone just because I said it on air. I think the other thing that you and I have gotten better at, we don't apologize when it's politically incorrect. I think the apology is kind of ruins it too.
Right. It takes it back. You ain't saying it with your full chest.
Yeah. So that's
coming for you, Ricky.
Those are all mine. Yeah. Those are all mine about it. I don't do as much studying though. Sometimes I just listen, which I don't do as much studying on the fight. That's his end.
So definitely production.
But at least you can tell
better.
your girl, I'm studying for the show. Get off my back! I'm studying for the show.
This is work.
So speaking of Ricky, Ricky MMA Marks, and you can follow him at Ricky MMA Marks. Zabit versus Yair should be the next. Do you agree? Also, Qatar versus Stevens. Do you agree?
I absolutely love that matchmaking.
I thought so too.
That's perfect.
I can't even believe Yair wasn't fresh on. He's the one who actually made him fresh on my list.
Because he ducked him.
But I actually called their show and asked them, do you think that fight style takes the cardio away? They all have this explosive bang, and I wanted to know what they think. Is it like necessary ridicule that they're getting? Because that's the exact same thing people say after a Yair fight. He's dead in the third.
Because that spinning shit takes your entire body to spin around, and that is not easy. Anybody will tell you that. It does wear you down in there, but that's the beauty of the game is eventually you're supposed to learn from that and be like, okay, how do I stop myself from getting that tired where I maybe just throw one of those spinning things instead of 15?
I love this fight. I just think both
matchmaking.
Fights. I love the matchmaking, both fights, but I'm thinking Cater versus Qatar. And everyone, that's the other funny thing, every person I listen to, Cater, Qatar.
Either one or the other one.
No, or they'd switch and be like, I don't know. But that versus Stevens, I didn't even think about. I think that's such a fresh pick. That fight.
That's a great fight.
That's a 5-round all day. Because both those guys, everybody wanted to see 2 more rounds of. So what a perfect fight for us to get to watch.
Interesting hot picks.
I love it.
Who would you pick right now in either one of those?
Ooh. Oh my gosh. I think Calvin, just because of youth.
Okay. And in the main...
Zabit Yair. Zabit.
I would say Stevens and Zabit.
I would have Qatar Zabit.
Interesting.
Yeah,
but
you're
those
stronger
are
than Zabit. I just think with Zabit, when you rewatch a lot of his fights, he gets a lot of shit, but when he's not getting hit by as much stuff.
Right.
And he has that Tony Ferguson roll with it thing. But I like that question. And last but not least, so remember, shoot your questions at #QLATB. Evan Montgomery, what is the biggest upset you think we might see in a champ fight for 2020?
Wow. Big question.
I know. And then when you rattle off the people that are carrying belts and who's moving their way up.
I don't know if this is 2020. I think it's 2019. Because I feel like I got Colby Covington in that upset over Usman.
I think that's a great pick. I have that too. GDR, she's a live dog against Amanda just because of her pure power alone.
I'm finally giving it to Amanda.
I don't think Amanda has ever gotten hit with the power that GDR possesses.
I got Amanda in that one.
I have Amanda too. I just think
and these are in December, right? These two fights?
These are Decembers. Yeah, we're not.
So not 2020. Wow. So we're jumping the gun. Interesting.
Gosh, I don't see John Jones losing.
Agreed.
But you know who's this very scary person? I think the scariest person coming up through the 185 is he just knocked out someone. He just came down from heavyweight.
Cannonier?
Corey
Anderson.
No, wait, not Corey Anderson.
Cannonier
is the scariest person at 185. I think Israel's going to ride it for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But Cannonier is a very scary person. That 205, I see John Jones. I think 185 is kind of locked. I do agree Colby's going to take it. I don't know who I see being
I'm thinking more in like the Suarez if she was an underdog against JJ. I could see that as well being an underdog I would like.
You think JJ beats Wheeler?
I think so.
I don't think so. I just think Wheeler Zhang, especially if they let her fight in China, they just juice her up to the tits.
That's where I think Suarez, if her neck is good, I think Suarez, either one of those ladies, she'd get through just with her wrestling. I may be backing off those words a little bit because I'm just looking for an underdog that I don't think
the Bullet loses. In 35, Amanda's still sitting with it, and I think she'll decide to walk away from there if she wants to walk. Well, it's 35 is what GDR and her are fighting at, right? And Amanda asked to go up to 145, and GDR said, no.
Right.
It's 135.
She already showed you guys she don't want to play that game.
Well, she's a more natural 135er than even Amanda. So that's the most intriguing thing to me. Shit. But those are all happening at the end of the year. Exactly.
Those are right around the corner, so that's where it's hard to predict. Like in 20, there's so much of 2020 left. It hasn't even started.
And I don't think I feel comfortable with Max Holloway carrying his belt too.
In those divisions, I don't feel comfortable with anyone because they're so volatile.
I think they're awesome, but those are the...
I feel like Volk has a real shot.
Tony Ferguson upset Khabib. Boom!
We can only wish.
That would be a big upset, though, right?
That would be a big upset. If it's an upset,
not for us.
No, easily be in that plus money, plus that. Those would be linchpins of the night, for sure. Thank you for all the questions at Ricky MMA, at Fighting With Myself podcast. We really appreciate them out there.
At Evan Montgomery.
Definitely feeling the love. It's going to be more constant as we keep going on.
I know
here.
We got no definitive answer for that. It blew our mind.
Oh, I think we gave them quite a few answers. Yeah, there's options in there for sure. Yeah. But we do have, what we all came for. That Brazilian card. You know how we like to get in South America crazy. So.
No, that's not.
No, yeah, Portuguese. What is the Moroccan dollar?
I don't know what I'm saying.
Porra! There it is. So in Sao Paulo,
Brazil.
That's a good one. Do you just yell that if you go to Brazil?
That's all I got.
Asahi!
If I need a bathroom, I'm like, Asahi. That's the only word I got. Like, I need a hotel. Asahi.
If you throw porra in before it, you're good. Porra, Asahi. That's all I know.
And what do they chant?
Tu va morir.
Yeah. Can you imagine? That's what I say. Asahi. I just get killed in the streets.
It's all just chants.
Yeah.
It's all UFC chants. That's all you know how to say. So
at least they send me to the gym. They send me to a UFC gym or some sort of like Novu Niao. Thank you.
They don't like English in Novu Niao, so you might be a little screwed there. Just throwing that out there.
Maybe they just helped me because I was an MMA fan. They'd be like, look at this broad knows about MMA.
Good point. Maybe you'd meet an up-and-coming Gadelia.
I would just be like, Jose Aldo.
Jose.
And then dead again. Right
exactly. You'd have somebody come up right behind you real quick. So, we're going to be going to Sao Paulo, a 12-card bout. You know why we're here for this breakdown. It's going to be 12. We're going to get into our Fight Pick Championships when we get into the main card. As far as betting and DraftKings, we have lines out for everything. But off the top, this is going to be a rough one. We alluded to it earlier. The Moscow one didn't really perform heavily in this one, I feel like. Got some decision cities out of there.
I actually like this card better than the Russian card. I think it's a thicker card.
There's better names.
Yeah.
Better names for sure. But it's still, we were spoiled for a couple weeks in a row there. Then we're going to have the first break we've had in a while, 2 weeks in a row without fights. That's where some of this premium content's going to come in, where we're going to be able to change just put in some more ideas. But either way. What? I was just talking about the break we're going to have after the Sao Paulo card, because we haven't had one for like 11 weeks.
We might have a surprise. And you were trying to be good of like, should I give that away?
Shouldn't I? And I'm like, all right, we need to get to it.
Maybe we'll have a special guest or 2 or 3 or 4. So we'll see.
But you know how we like to do. We always start from the bottom to the top, and it's no different here with Tracy Cortez. debuting against Vanessa Melo. Cortez in here is coming off of the Contender Series. She's 6-1. She ended up winning her Contender Series fight via decision. Everyone's been saying all sorts of good things about her looks specifically out there. You know how the MMA community does it out there. But if you take that away, she actually has a solid grappling game. She likes to go takedown heavy, always chasing down the takedown. She really uses a lot of body locks and outside trips, which is a way to get down there. At times with stronger people with hips, they will be able to roll up on her, but I feel like she moves forward enough to really be able to just push them into the fence and really take people's legs out from under them. Vanessa Melo is coming in with a 10-6 record, losing her debut to Irene Aldana in a decision. She's a kickboxer. That was 3 months ago. I mean, Melo just likes to stay striking. The regional stuff I saw on the ground was very, very sloppy. I mean, she was led up by most of her opponents. She really didn't look to get up. So once this gets to the ground, I saw other regional scene fighters just passing nonstop, and Cortez can do that all day. She's one of the bigger favorites of the night for a reason. -230. Give me Cortez decision. I could even see a submission just because she throws a lot of elbows when she gets on top, but she is a decision machine. We like to stay away from these. I like the favorite here. I mean, I just see her more dominant everywhere, even in the striking, which Melo technically is better.
Everything I want to listen, these people of the Contender Series kind of always flop. Vanessa Melo, though, isn't that UFC caliber yet where they're hitting like that second, third fight stride. Irene Aldana, I don't know how much of a wall going to decision with her was. I remember that she missed weight by 5 pounds, and I was wondering if that was anything weird to you that Tracy Cortez is going up to 135 and Vanessa Melo is coming down from the 140.
That's a great point, because Melo did look definitely like she could have lost some weight in some of those regional scene fights. I was like, she's just not in shape still, and her cardio did show. So if she's coming down, she could be putting the work in and helping, and she needs that cardio advantage because I don't think she's going to have it. If anything, that Cortez is going up just kind of...
San Paulo High, do we have to worry anything about this, or is this coastal?
I think these are usually coastal. Okay. I'm almost positive it's going to be on the coast. But we do have to worry about the Brazilian Commission. You know that those Brazilian fans show up early, and they are loud. So any chance they get, they're going to be cheering on their native fighter. So the fact that I have this going to a decision could get a little sketchy, but not really. She's a pretty big favorite.
I have Cortez. I'm going to go, but I'm going to stay away from this. I think there's something to be said still about the experience of being in the actual UFC lights from even the Contender Series. And the competition that Cortez has had is sketch at best. So I'm going to go Cortez decision, but I'm going to stay away.
On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying $8,800 for Cortez debuting against Melo, $7,400 for the now one fight in the UFC. Stay away is probably the best move because 8-8 is ridiculous pricing in there for someone who usually decisions in there. So one we're going to move quick through as well is going to be at 125 pounds when we come in with Ariana Lipski versus Veronica Macedo. Both of these ladies have come in to the UFC and really underperformed. Macedo finally getting a win in there. She's had 3-4 fights in the losing streak against Andrea Lee, Polyana Vienna. As of late, she actually beat Vienna submission armbar 3 months ago. But Vienna is teetering on a UFC career in here. Macedo is going to have the advantage on the ground, striking. Lipski hasn't shown that she's that good, even though that's what she does, being the queen of violence. She hasn't really showed it in there, being 11-5. She's lost both of her fights to Molly McCann and JoJo Calderwood, which is fairly high-level competition. But even in those showings, Lipski never just looked like she had a second or third gear. When she got hit, she didn't look like she liked it, which nobody really should, but I don't know. You see Tony Martin, and he's walking through punches.
There used to be a cartoon when I was younger called The Bionic Six, and there was this one bad guy that was like a blob, and anything that was shot at him or punched at him or whatever, like bullets, they would just go into him and he would go, "Ooh, feels good." Can you imagine if that's what somebody did when you were fighting them?
That would be awesome, but not a good way to have a long career in there. But Lipski shies away from most of those, but on the ground, she has a big disadvantage.
Also,
we've seen that.
Lipski looks like the actress who plays the girlfriend of Detective whatever on Gotham. She's an actress there, but she also, the role that I first thought of her from is Homeland. She's the wife of the American soldier terrorist that comes back.
Oh, I haven't
she
seen it.
Look like her? Oh, you haven't watched Homeland with?
Oh wait,
Claire?
yeah,
you have.
I can kind of see that, I guess. Do you take anything away from either one of these factories?
Oh, I'm gonna go with Lipski in this decision.
I got Macedo decision in this.
But I think the losses to two of my favorite girls in the 125 division. I think I love Molly McCann, and Molly McCann, and you know that my favorite girl, JoJo Calderwood. Both those girls are grinders and punchers, and will stay throwing the whole time. It makes me a little nervous of Macedo's ground game, but what ground game? She lost to everybody's, like, her losses aren't great losses, as good as Ariana Lipski's. So I feel okay with the Lipski decision here. It's a close fight, though. It should be.
It is a close one. Minus 175 for Veronica Macedo, 8,500 on DraftKings. You're going to end up paying for the plus 145, Ariana Lipski, 7,700. Do you think you're going to play any of that for 7,000?
I think Lipski's the play.
I think I'm going to big fat stay away from that one as well. I see a decision out of both of those fights.
Yeah, I think it's only like a 40 points, but it's just if you want something safe and you have to pick a low fighter, and if she gets like a 40 points plus a 20-point win, it could bring her up to 70. Lipski could be the play there all day. I don't see Macedo doing much. She's definitely not going to throw. She's going to be trying to get it down the whole time. So even with a win, 50 points best, and she's higher priced. So I just think it's a dog or pass, I should say.
That's a great call on that one. I, again, am steering clear out of that one. I'm not going to really have any exposure on those. It's pretty wide gap as well as far as DraftKings is involved with those. Then we end up having a profile fight at 145 pounds. We have Douglas D'Andrade Silva, or D. Silva in there against Henan Dracula himself, Barao, the Baron in there, coming in on a massive 4-fight losing streak. D'Andrade has been win one, lose one for a little while now. He's getting a last loss at 25-3 to Peter Yan, which is nothing to shake your head at. Beating Marlon Vera in a decision. Losing to Rob Font submission, but D'Andrade has really showed a great gas tank as of late. At 34 years old, he's kind of an anomaly. He's a lot like a later fighter we're going to have later, or a fighter moving on with Trinaldo, where it's like, he shouldn't be getting better, but wait, they're in Brazil, all the way on the other part of the world from Jeff Novinsky, so it's weird how the EPO runs loose.
And the UFC actually promised to have Jessica Andrade ringside, so we know they're not the same person. Just kidding. But they have similar fighting styles.
Andrade is a scary-looking person.
I know, but they just have that same, like, put their head down, shell up, and walk forward and throw.
Andrade throws great punches to the body, really tons of volume, tons of power. We'll mix some uppercuts in there, has good takedown defense. On the ground, showed that he's more than serviceable. And against Henan Barao, I mean, you know what we've been saying for a while here. It's the shell of Henan Barao. He went on that 10-year winning streak, was a UFC king. It's absolutely bonkers that he's not in the top 3 fights of this night. It's unbelievable that he's a 3rd fight of the night. It's Henan Barao.
Mighty have fallen.
Woo! He's succumbed to just, even though he's the younger fighter at 32, he's by far older in fight years.
Would you say the steroid testing getting more stringent, he could be one of those fighters that we saw took a hit? Or do you think he was still hot after?
I think we did see him take a hit, but they're in Brazil now, so he could be better. But I feel like his chin is diminished so much regardless of all of that, that it's almost in that Danny Roberts situation where it's like, I got to be tentative on you moving forward because not Ben Saunders, who's the other Saunders?
Luke Saunders.
Luke, Cool Hand Luke, who doesn't knock out anybody, knocked you out pretty decisively in there, and it's just been proven time
He
and
had
time
Hot
again.
Hand. He renamed himself to Hot Hand.
After that one fight. And he's going to be able to fight 3 more times because he beat Renan Barão. But Barão, it's just time. Unfortunately, it's going to be in Brazil against another Brazilian. Really weird matchmaking here. But I got the Andrade knockout. I had it 3. Give me it round number 1. It's just, I can't trust that chin. I went back and looked tape, and the shots that landed on Barão, he sees them coming. He just doesn't have that reaction for whatever it is. Novo and Yao, notoriously known to not change their ways and spar heavy still. So when you're training with Jose Aldo, every day and getting kicked in the head, it might add up on you.
I like the 8 months that Barão has taken off. He isn't old as far as fight life's going. He should be in the prime of his career. He was just taking too many fights in a row and fighting guys. Like, every guy he's fighting is a potential Hall of Famer of lately. He's just a guy that's up there.
Not Luke Saunders. That's
Not
a
Luke
jobber.
Saunders, but it's like after so many losses in a row.
Mitch
It's like
Gagnon too.
Aljamain Sterling, and then Brian Kelleher, and then
You will
and
nothing.
then, no, but all those losses. But before all those losses, like
Sorry,
his
you're right.
career of
Monsters.
it's just like he's been going against monsters forever. I love Andrade, but he has the Zabit curse of cardio. And if Renan Barão can make it into the third, we see guys like De Silva, like his corner stoppage last time, because he does lose it all because he tries everything in there. Explosive AF. He'll punch 3 times that air, and that'll
With
cost
full
all
power.
his cardio.
Full power.
It makes me nervous here. I don't have a knockout. I do think he's going to get the first 2 rounds on Renan Barão, but I do like the time that Renan took off, and I have Andrade decision. I'm going to give Renan Barão the respect, and it would not surprise me here if Renan snuck out 2 rounds, like it was a close, dirty split, but I'm going to think they're going to be honest with it, since it's 2 Brazilians and neither of them's fighting out of their hometown.
Wow, interesting. I actually even like the prop bets. I was looking at them earlier, which I don't always get time to, but Inside the Distance was plus money on Andrade, so I'm going to definitely go in on that one. And that's going to probably save my...
Not that he hasn't had
DraftKings.
KOs, but of the deeper he gets into the division, they're coming less and less.
Right.
And Renan, not that he hasn't been knocked out the last one, but he usually loses by decision. So I'm just going with their older fights, not their most recent, but I totally see what you're saying.
Right,
too.
I'm going with the most recent for sure. Andrade being the minus 250 favorite. It's going to be 9,100 on DraftKings against Renan Barão's plus 200, 7,100 on DraftKings. Do you think Barão's a real option on DraftKings? Because I really don't. I'm going to be probably putting 0. I just can't trust that chin. But hey, that played against me against Danny Roberts last week, where I was kind of in this exact same spot.
Yeah. I probably will. I think I might speckle both guys on cards.
Okay, you're going to have a little bit of both.
I might have a little bit of both. And depending on weigh-ins, I could... Andrade is such a little dude. Like, he's so little. I want to see it. And we know Renan looks like he's one of the guys that has that Vic on the scale. He looks dead to the world. So weigh-ins could super affect me. And your case, this could be a fight I'm on the fence about right up until fight time. Definitely nerve-wracking.
Definitely one we're going to be watching for
I was
weigh-ins.
just
That's a
looking
great
at the
point.
next fight card thinking, oh, did I disrespect these guys and not put the right flags? And I was like, oh, okay. They just look similar, small, but when...
You're right on, but with that weight cutting, Barão does have a history with issues, so great point there. Definitely going to be an interesting matchup that is so far down the card, but that's where there's these sneaky ones on this card where it's like, ooh.
I even think the next fight's sneaky good.
Hell yeah, it's sneaky good at 170 pounds. We have Warley Alves coming in against Randy Brown. Randy's coming in out of Jamaica, but he's a New Yorker. Bukaw Academy, but I feel like he's been training all up and down, really getting his skills together at 11-3. He's been the up-and-comer. Beating Brian Barberina via TKO, losing to Nico Price from that hammer fist, but schooling Mickey Gall. He's had some wins, losses in there. His losses being to, who else was it in there? Belal Muhammad decision. But the leaps and bounds I'm seeing in Randy Brown has been next level. Barberina gave Vicente Luque a hard fight. And Randy Brown walked right through Barberina before that Luque fight even. So Brown's just really starting to get his at distance range. I mean, go back and look at that. He uses his length at 6'3", every inch of it. And on the ground, he's been training a lot more. I believe he's a purple belt, if not even high. Now, I feel like it's a purple belt, but I know he's been traveling up and down the coast up there in that New York scene. And we know we got beasts up there and stuff. So definitely like what I'm seeing from the young man in here. I think he's exponentially growing. And Warley Alves has kind of been one of these guys that fell flat, being 13-3. He's been sporadic in there, getting a couple wins here and there, but then losing some mega ones.
He has a better record than Randy Brown.
Great point, but I feel like for me, he came in with such hype from the show because I feel like they're not showing some of the exhibition bouts. He was was he a winner at Tough? Ended up coming out with all of the accolades. He was going to be a prospect next Brazilian champ for a little while here. And then he ended up just proving that he was a head case as far as training. And he has gas tank issues with Warley Alves. Colby Covington, that's one of his marquee wins, submitting him via guillotine, which is Warley Alves' best move. If you shoot in on Warley Alves, he jumps on that guillotine quick. But when we've seen people defend that first onslaught of submissions, Warley will gas his own arms out on that guillotine and then be like, oh, this guy's kicking the living shit out of me. So Randy Brown has to put in a very technical game plan, but I feel like he can. Striking-wise, Warley Alves is a Muay Thai striker at heart, but he's very looping. He throws very one-and-done shots with a lot of weight in him. But again, once he starts to not be that front runner, I feel like he shuts down and quits a little bit. And that's why I've just not been high on Warley Alves a few times. I just see that quit in him. So I can't put my money on him. Give me Randy Brown, plus 100 even. I can't make it a plus money plus because that ain't right. But I am targeting the American to come in and get it done. Decision, I think it's going to be one-sided, though. 29-28, 30-27. Give me Randy Brown. I think he keeps it standing and can keep it at range and on the ground. I'm comfortable he stays alive.
Everything you're saying about Warley Alves is right, but it's almost old Warley Alves. In the last 3 years, I feel like he's turned everything around, and losing to like Kamaru Usman by decision and being able to take that onslaught, and it wasn't I don't recall it being one of the Kamaru Usman victories that was like 30-26. It was a little bit closer of a fight. And then he did get bashed 6 months ago by Sergio Moraes with a nasty uppercut, which I don't like. I still think that's too soon to fight, even though he has he beat Sergio. He lost.
Knocked him out.
Okay, that was a year. And I was like, what? I just read that all wrong because I had Warley Alves. Okay, he got knocked out by James Krause. And that was over a year ago. And I love James Krause, so to me, that's not a bad loss either. The guys, I like Nico Price. That was kind of a fluke thing, but it just seems like Randy Brown has a zero takedown defense, and Warley Alves is strong, and I don't know if Randy Brown can take on that first onslaught. He always seems to kind of lose to wrestlers with power, and I do think Brian Barberina has a decent ground game, but it's just not strong, so Randy Brown could just shove him off the whole time, Warley Alves, the other thing I totally agree with is when you look at him, you're like, oh, Warley Alves, he's 36 years old.
True.
No, he's a young man. He has that, the ring years have been rough to him.
Right, he's a younger man.
He is a worn dude. That I totally agree with. I'm going to go with the experience here, and I'm going to go Alves decision. I think he puts everything together in his ring IQ and his skill set. I'm going to go with the Brazilian here.
Warley Alves.
Yeah, that's a good one.
On DraftKings.
But I like Rude Boy. I think this is a great fight.
Definitely a fun fight. This could be a sneaky fight of the night for sure. You're going to end up paying $8,300 for the minus 125 favorite Warley Alves against Randy Brown's $7,900. Even money right now on the money line. So
do you expect that to change?
Yeah, I think they're going to go minus 115 by the time it comes around. So if there's time for Rude Boy, it's right now to be putting that money on.
But if you put it out, someone will be a hater and be like, that's not plus money. Well, he was when we did the podcast, Joker.
Sorry, it's the way it is. You got to be on those.
Joaquin Phoenix.
It's the way it goes. The week definitely changes out. So be sure you're following at Zol Tonight, at Weekneck Baby. If you want those tidbits, you got to be subscribed. There's nothing I can tell you. So then we move on. On DraftKings, how much do you think you're going to have Warley Alves at 8-3? because I think I'm going to go Randy Brown. I'm going to put in there like 20, 30%. Warley Alves, 10%. Just have a little exposure.
I'm going to do the opposite. And overall, I don't think I'll go too heavy on this card. I'll still be saving my money up. But if, it's going to be 2 weeks without fights. So who knows? Who knows?
That's a great point. So you need your last little hurrah.
Yeah.
Agreed. Because I was thinking of going light. But we do have 2 dark weeks as far as MMA. And it's going to be hurting. We're going to be hurting. But we will be able to get through it. Then we move on to 155 pounds where Francisco Trinaldo comes in against Bobby Green. Bobby Green being a long-time favorite. The king himself, 24-9-1, coming off of a loss to Drakkar Klose in a decision where I look back at the stats and technically Bobby Green won that fight. But this is a issue that Bobby Green has in a lot of his fights. It's something that we've always talked about here at LaTB as he fights to the potential of his opponent. If the most strikes Bobby Green's ever thrown was the last fight against Drakkar Klose, and that's because Klose threw 125 and he threw 109. Every other bout that Bobby Green's had has been like in the 60s at the highest. So it's just Bobby Green. If you do a high pace, he just kind of shows you. He flaunts his stuff. We love that Philly shell. We love all his mixed game. He's been over at 209 for a while, but he just kind of plateaus, and he's always there to have the split decision taken from him more than him winning it. He doesn't finish people. He just doesn't really have that type of power. And he actually said he was going to retire after that last fight with Klose because he's like, man, that's a robbery. Technically, I feel like it could have been. So with Bobby Green, you got to be hesitant in that stance. Like, that's just his fighting style. He will always be on a razor-thin margin. And when you're coming in against Trinaldo, the Master Anduba himself, longtime favorite, he was last robbed of a fight against Alex Hernandez, where if that wasn't in Texas, he would have lost that fight. I had Hernandez, and that was a robbery. Hernandez did not win that fight. Anduba also landed more in the strike counts, and it even had a takedown in that fight. So, Master Anduba is one of these guys that is 41 years old, seems to be only fighting in Brazil, and looking as good as always. Tons of power. He's a southpaw. Hits with tons of force.
You're right. All those fights seem to be in Brazil.
Every freaking time.
Juicing.
Oh, actually, the Hernandez fight wasn't.
Oh, never mind.
But he lost it.
Juicing.
Yep, they took care of it. They knew. They're like, you're going to be on that, buddy. We know you're getting around these tests somehow. So, Master Anduba being in Brazil, it's going to be close. I got dirty split written all over it, but I do think that Trinaldo is going to be able to eke it out with slight strikes, and the crowd's going to be involved here. Again, every time he even half lands a shot, even if Bobby Green blocks it, he'll make a face, and the judges will be like, oh, he hit him, because that's just kind of what Bobby Green does. So, give me dirty old split. Master Anduba, who do you have in this fight?
I like what you're saying. I just do think Bobby Green got robbed a little bit with Drakkar Klose, and then beating Eric Koch isn't a bad decision to me. Going to split with Venata isn't bad at all. Magomedov, split decision again, and then Dustin Poirier, come on, they just threw him to the wolves when he was kind of coming out. I'm going to go with Bobby Green decision here. I think this is going to be a weird fight, and history should say, go with Trinaldo. It's Brazil, and if you expect it to be close, Bobby Green's all about them dirty splits. Trinaldo's all about them dirty splits.
True.
So, if it really comes down to boxing, I got to give the edge to Bobby Green here. And if he can keep it on the feet, and I think he can find his distance a little better and quicker. The power obviously goes to Trinaldo, but the technique goes to Green. So, give me Green decision.
Woo! That's a brave one. That is a brave one.
It's easier to be brave on the prelims before the fight for championships.
That's a good point. So you're going to end up paying for the minus 125 favorite, mirroring the other odds of earlier. Francisco Trinaldo, 8,400 against Bobby Green's plus 100 even money on DraftKings, 7,800. Do you think you're going to be playing Bobby Green here? We both have a decision, and they both average. Bobby Green, 64 points on DraftKings. Trinaldo, 63 points. The bet there has got to be Bobby Green because he averages one more point for less money.
I am going to pepper. I feel like every single card is going to be a little different. It's going to be really hard to stake my claim in either side all night. I feel like I could be swayed either way. I might listen to a podcast on any other fight and switch it before fight time. It is really close. So I feel like I'm going to play both guys again. I'm going to be no help so far on anyone's fight card.
I'm going to go low owned here, and I'll go 10 and 10% on this.
So you're going both too.
But going both and exactly equal shares, but I do see a decision out of both fighters. I think Trinaldo would be the more likely one to get the finish, but there's better fighters that haven't been able to finish Bobby Green, so it's easier said than done by far in there. Moving on to 145 pounds, we have returning Ricardo Ramos Ricardo Ramos coming in against Eduardo Gregori. Gregori getting his first win in the UFC against Herberto Bandone in a decision, being a perfect 13-0. The Uruguayan fighter is mainly a striker. He's got all right takedown defense, but it's been against regional guys. The fact that he couldn't even finish Bandone, I feel like says a lot, because a lot of people think Bandone doesn't deserve to be in the UFC, and they're probably right at this point with the type of showings he's had. Gregori showed a good gas tank, educated strikes, but they didn't have the best power, and they were a bit looping. I just feel like Ricardo Ramos here, other than maybe just the rawest power, or just the raw power, has all of the check marks. He's shown that he's better on the ground. He doesn't have the best takedowns or even good takedowns, but he doesn't really try to go to the ground. Likes to keep it striking, has a great clinch in there, really throws the knees in well. And he showed it off with multiple fights in the UFC, being 13-2, only losing to Said Nurmagomedov in a body kick and punches 9 months ago, but has since rebounded against Jordan Newsom in a decision 4 months ago, but really just showing against a tough fighter that he's tightened up some of those cardio issues he had in there. He also defeated Kang in there. Tanaka, did he knock out Zahabi's little brother in one of the most nasty elbow spins?
I don't
ever.
know. It was so long ago.
So he's definitely been fighting for a while in there. But either way, I feel like Ramos should have all the check marks here. It's a decision, if not finish. But give me a decision.
But he's one of those guys that seems like he's 30 because of the amount of fights he's had in the UFC.
Long time veteran against much better competition than Gregori's ever seen. So it's pretty easy. I got a decision. I could even see a finish just because of that Muay Thai. Could see a knee running up the middle for Gregori, or just kind of an outside pick apart. Give me a decision. I'm going to probably be fairly light on this one on DraftKings as well. Who are you picking and why?
I have Gregori decision. The Bandone win decision to me, that meant something, and nothing against Journey Newsom or how brutally and soft that Ricardo Ramos's body is. But I got to think Gregori's paying attention to that, and he has power in his hands, and he has decent submissions. I think he's dangerous, and has flash ability, not just in his strikes, but in his submissions and in his takedowns. And I think that's going to give Ricardo Ramos trouble. For some reason, I mean, he's winning his fight, so I don't want to say he's choking, but and you would think that they're gonna go with the local guy. I do like that he took all the time off in between and just kind of, I know this is weird, and I feel like I'm letting the favorite of how moderate favorite Ricardo Ramos is, but I like Gregori, and I like what Uruguay is doing of lately. It just makes me miss and think of my pawns.
Isn't he Argentinian?
Oh, never mind. I'm changing right now to Ricardo Ramos.
Every time.
Isn't it that flag? Don't they both have
it's that the flags look very, very close to each other.
Okay. I'm like, don't they both have the sun?
There is another Uruguayan fighter, but he's not a Pons level fighter by any means. So, but he was in that Uruguayan scene for a while, was Pons. He might be born in Uruguay. So, either way here.
No, I think you're totally right. They just both have the sun on their flag.
On DraftKings,
changing a Ramos decision. I just really do think this is going to be a firefight, though. I think this is going to be a good fight.
I think if there's somebody to get the finish, it's more than likely is Ramos, and that's why it's minus 250 for Ricardo Ramos, 9,200 on DraftKings against Gregori's 7,000 even, plus 200.
Bother you at all that Ricardo Ramos is fighting at 145 for the first time?
No, and I actually like that because he always looked especially gangly to me, and that is a great point. He is moving up because he looks
4 months
skinny.
ago.
which he's 24 years old.
I'm going back to Grigori.
For him, Grigori is 30 years old. He's set at his weight. This guy can move 2 weight classes. He can do a reverse cam and a cannoneer.
I think if you look back to Masvidal at the beginning of his 170, like look at his body again in the fighting Maya compared to his body now. I think that extra weight of being able to add on the muscle, that's just so soon. It makes me think that he was desperate in the last weight class and is taking something on too quick of a notice, 2 camps right on top of each other and then moving up in weight. Maybe he thinks the fight's a walkthrough and he's going to do it. All these things that make me nervous. Grigori decision.
I was about to say, I think he feels that confident and is like, I'm a growing man. If anything, he's the one to make the bigger leaps and bounds in his career right now out of both fighters. But I am going to be playing him a little bit, 10% Ricardo Ramos. I'm going to be playing Grigori nowhere. It's just 9,200. You got to get a finish in there, or you really got to tune him up in there. So he only averages 60 points, so low ownership as far as those top tier guys in there. But one I'm going to go much heavier on, one that's usually been a big PMP for me here. We got James Krause coming in against Sergio Moraes. The James Krause himself is definitely been a veteran in that tough house, coming off of a 3-fight winning streak, only losing to, was it Jesse Taylor's submission? Since then, actually rattling off 3 wins. One of those coming in against Warley Alves. He's had a few injuries in there. He does coach a few other fighters. I feel like Tim Elliott, Manzani, who else in there? A couple other people, but either way, James Krause is got a great backstory. His striking, though, has really come along. He's really setting up traps better than ever. He can switch back and forth, has power from both stands, but the reason his striking has been so on point is because people have never liked to go to the ground with him, and now they have no option. He can catch them from any position, so he's definitely someone that I really like because you've seen those shore-ups in his game, and he lands with power. If this goes to the ground, you got to think that Sergio Moraes, with his accolades in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, should have the advantage. Mop it up, but I don't think he does. Warley Alves has those same type of accolades, and Krause was like, oh, I've done this. I've trained with these level of black belts now. So striking-wise, I give a big check mark to Krause, and on the ground, I think Krause can keep it where he wants it, not get submitted. Moraes hasn't even really shown that in the UFC. He's coming off a 2-fight losing streak, being 14-5, losing to Warley Alves uppercut 6 months ago in a nasty finish. Also with Moraes, he has had a long history of having both knees absolutely shot, where he's had multiple surgeries. Came off a long layoff to Warley Alves in that fight, and it looked like he could have damaged his knee. I'm actually surprised he's getting in here at his age. Give me James Krause everywhere. I got a TKO round number 2. I think Moraes is tough at heart, but his will just keeps him in there a little longer than he should be. I got Krause everywhere. I love James Krause. The James Krause. I can put it on my hot dogs.
The sauerkraut?
Exactly.
I actually love James Krause here too, and I also have a round 2 finish.
Oh, put a bet on it.
I actually think James Krause keeps Sergio Moraes at bay long enough and pieces them apart in the first round, and then in the second round feels pretty comfortable where their power is at and the fight is at, that he stops being even nervous about getting taken down or getting that flash submission that Sergio Moraes is so good at. James Krause's level's better than the guy that Sergio is grabbing their neck and snatching it up. He kind of reminds me a little bit of some of these, like Rocco Martin. James Krause is in that,
yes,
those kind of sleepers. They're like the Dan Hookers, the guys that are sneaking up the divisions that everybody's like, they're putting their skills together all nicely from every angle. They're not becoming specialists. So I like James Krause here too. KO round 2.
Minus 200 favorite is James Krause. 9,000 even on DraftKings against Moraes. Plus 170, 7,200 on DraftKings. 0% Moraes. We'll probably go 30%, if not more. Linchpin style.
This is linchpin
style. Easy. Yeah, this is going to be a staple that I'm going to be moving most of my lineup. Even though it's expensive, we've seen other over 9,000, and I'm way more confident in this bet than any of those by far. So definitely put a bet on that. I could see it being a submission just because Krause is that type of nasty. So you could go inside the distance round number 2 because those prop odds are really high when you put that specific odd on them. Just a little betting tip in there. If you're following and trying to make money, trying to make some of those proper bets, we're getting it out there at Zoltanite, at Weekneck Baby, at LaTB_MMA for both of us. You know we get into this Fight Pick Championship. You know why we do it, for all the chips. We've been clapping back all day, wrapping suckers up. We're in number 4 and 3 overall. We're always in the top. Everybody should know that. We're just waiting to make our ultimate move.
You're always on the other side of the mountain. Like if there was a peak of the mountain, I sometimes am like on a heroin bender at the bottom. And then other times I'm totally flying high, running the office building, making heads roll. Give me some coffee. Sorry.
So I definitely just performing at that top level of the championship so far, waiting to make my move. It could be this week. It couldn't be. But I don't see too many people contesting for that other than maybe Marks right now. And Cloud9's been putting in a good showing.
Cloud9. No one's...
Sneaky.
Well, he was up on our board. It ain't sneaky. He was up last week.
True.
Everybody knew who was the favorite last week.
Great point.
But I think sitting with 310, trying to get over the big pink machine is going to be...
doable.
For me, I need like 100 points.
That's doable.
Yeah.
That's doable.
Anything can happen. We need is Alpha to have a shit week.
Oh.
We just need an okay week.
I'm looking for them hot 25. You know me.
Hot 25. Getting the hot 25. Some people started out hot. And then, Pure Evil and Reyes Omoplata did start later than everybody else. But not my fault.
Truth.
Somebody had to be behind Ricky.
How you like it down there? So,
just kidding.
Definitely fun.
So yeah, make sure you're following us because it's just fun to keep up with, and they're all really great people. They all have fun podcasts. They all have different views. So if you're nerds to MMA like we are, and you got 24 hours in a day to fill, you might want to follow some of them. And we are always trying to shout out and give retweets, so make sure you're doing that.
A quick shout out at Preston Everfit, longtime Legion fan, always repping LaTB. We appreciate it, dog. Absolutely love it. So,
thank you.
On
it does mean the world. So yeah, go on.
The main card, we have 185-pound bout starting off in Marcus Ruckus Maluco Perez coming in against Wellington Thurman Fafoa in here. The 15-3 fighter has come in and lost a split decision to Carl Robertson, which doesn't look so bad all of a sudden seeing Robertson. I was
thinking the exact same thing.
It's like, oh, okay, that doesn't look absolutely horrible in there, but Thurman is definitely a young up-and-comer at 23 years old, stoutly built. Absolutely stoutly built. Has a great body shot on him. Good Muay Thai. On the ground, he's all right. He likes to get on top. He'll pass if he can, but it's not his bread and butter. He definitely likes to keep it striking. Has a good left hook. It's probably his best punch on Thurman. Is a good left hook. His power shot is his right hand, but it's just been not at level competition. He did have a UFC shot, and he wasn't able to pass it, and he didn't get a layup in his second fight. He got potentially a harder fight in Marcus Perez. Perez being 11-2, only losing in the UFC, having marquee wins over constant UFC professionals in there. Last beating Anthony Hernandez as an underdog. Prior to that, losing to Andrew Sanchez in a decision. Blachowicz he also beat, but his only other loss to Eric Anders decision. Perez is a really interesting, sneaky fighter where he throws the absolute most wild shit you'll ever throw. He throws spinning back fist or a teep into a bit spinning back fist because he doesn't care to go on the ground. He has good triangles off of his back, and he throws a lot of just volume off of his back. It could get him in trouble, though, because he could be giving up takedowns, and the guys that were able to beat him, like Anders and even, who was it in there, Sanchez, they laid him prayed. They took him down and didn't let him get up, where that's kind of the game plan because Perez shows that he's had power in that third round, and it's because it's really hard to predict shots in there. He has that capoeira in his background. On the ground, though, I do think if it gets there, no matter how it gets there, Perez eventually can get the submission. And striking, I think it's even for all the wrong reasons. I don't really like both of their striking, but give me Marcus Perez. I just like the veteranship a little bit more. Decision out of the two fighters, I feel like Perez is more likely to finish. So there's something to be said there. But give me Perez decision right now. Could maybe turn it into a second or third round submission. Little tentative on here. Who do you have and why in this first main bout?
I feel like Marcus Perez has gotten better each time he's gone in there. He's one of those guys that seems like he fights sloppy, but it's just a whole bunch of weird techniques put together, and some things look like he's throwing like a half overhand back fist, but really he's just trying to go for an ankle pick. It's so weird. Like, his fighting style is off the wall.
Yep.
He also seems like he's getting so big in there. I think his body's shaping up, and we're seeing him take this seriously. He's a dangerous guy. I think Turman's kind of underrated, especially after the Robertson win, like you're just saying, maybe to deal with that power. And we see those guys that just grind out Perez seem to be like Anders. It seems like the guys that kind of catch him off guard, especially since he's on a win one, lose one, win one, lose one. I do have it going to decision. I have Perez. I'm not as sure about it as you are. Again, another fight I'm not sure of. And maybe I'm giving Turman too much credit here, and maybe I'm giving Robertson too much credit. But everybody just seems like they're getting so much better, and Perez gets like Johnny Walker sloppy.
He really does. But he's been able to show
Michelle, Johnny Walker.
Yeah, and he gasses too.
Yeah.
And he gasses in that third round. But if we like to throw these backdoor narratives in here, this is Brazilian versus Brazilian, but more specific, this is Curitiba, Brazil, from Cyborg Nation in there, coming in against the local Sao Paulo native.
So if we see it going to decisions, maybe stick with Perez.
Perez's decision was exactly what I was going to say, because he is going to have the bigger crowd.
But I do also, depending on their size difference when they're staring, because I don't even trust when they're like, this guy's 6'2", this guy's 6'1", because when they're staring at each other, you can really see size difference. And like Woodley Usman, all of a sudden you're like, damn, Woodley, little as a motherfucker. That's it. So if they're staring at each other and I feel like one guy has any size advantage here, I could find myself swaying again. So I don't feel solidified in something. Perez, I don't trust his fight style. So
Agreed.
I could see myself with Turman, with the second fight in the UFC, being able to grind out a victory against a guy that, as long as you stay away from his weird flash submission game, that gets lazy or takedowns, and he gets that, you're sloppy.
It's sloppy.
Yeah.
For sure, extra sloppy
Perez
there.
decision right now, eek.
Marcus Perez is going to end up being minus 140 favorite. 8,600 on DraftKings. Wellington Thurman's going to be 7,600 plus 110. Pretty close odds. That'll probably get into that minus 115 range. Coin flip of a fight as well. But with the veteranship of Perez, I'm kind of surprised that it's that close. I could have seen it being a little bit bigger of a favorite for him in that spot. So as far as DraftKings, 8-6, he's kind of got to get a finish there. That's closer to 9 than anything.
He could get a finish.
Really could.
I could find myself switching it to submission, but because he gets so dangerous with submissions and a guy starts to get scared of him snatching a neck or snatching a leg, then they get ready, like set up for an uppercut. I could see him doing that too. His crazy fight style, it's the same as Yair or Zabit, where it's so explosive.
Right.
I guess I shouldn't say Zabit. He doesn't have that kind of power.
No. It's a little bit different than that. Yeah. But I'm going to be low owned, maybe 10% Perez. Wellington Thurman, probably minimal, if not none. And minimal, like less than 5%. So whatever that turns out to be on a low card as far in general for us over the weekend. Then we get into a dreaded double debut. This placement is absolutely no sense. They're both trying to give these guys some sort of hype in here. It's going to be Antonio Arroyo coming in against Andrea Munzi Sapiro. What's his dang nickname?
Sergi Pano.
Sergi Pano. Andre in here is 18-4, coming off of the Contender Series. Both of these guys are. Both of them getting finishes on the Contender Series. Submissions at that. The tape I saw in the regional scene of these guys is Andre Muzi here is somewhat of a wrestler, a Brazilian wrestler. He is coming out of Maia's area. But either way, what I ended up catching on his tape was that he likes to get it to the ground. Submissions is where he likes to do most of his work, but he doesn't have good entries. He's one of these jiu-jitsu guys who pulls guard in order to get a triangle or some sort of reversal. He doesn't shoot, and that's the worst ever, especially when you start to move up in these UFC ranks, because that type of low-level takedown percentage doesn't work. And the scary part here is that Arroyo hasn't necessarily shown that he's UFC level and can do that to not get turned over on the ground by somebody of this low level. That's why I absolutely hate this being on the Fight Pick Championships. Why not give me some guys Renan Barão versus freaking that other mug, De Silva? That easily could be on this.
This is just a coin flip.
Yeah, this is a
look
coin
at the
flip out of
odds.
nowhere.
Nobody fucking knows.
It's because it's a double debut. It's Gross Malosin here, and these guys are playing. You're playing with my cards, UFC. Playing with my Fight Picks cards. So it's literally a coin flip, but what I saw from Arroyo was a better striker, a hard left kick on the ground. He does have a submission game of his own. Doesn't look like he's completely lost on the ground. So I got to say he's got a check mark on the striking. Both of their gas tanks were minimal against regional competition. Give me Arroyo decision. Maybe I could see a finish just because his left body kick. And I think this is southpaw versus southpaw as well, but Arroyo's left body kick is one of those that you can hear in the black bleachers when he throws it. So give me Arroyo decision right now. Who do you have in this fight?
I'm going to go with Muniz decision. I even wonder how their gas tanks are going to be. I'm really just going with the reach advantage here. And that 6 months of youth. It's not. It's like 6 months and a year and a half. That year and a half of youth that he has. I really don't know why. He looks like a bigger kid to me. And the only thing I have to go on is middleweights in Brazil. Arroyo is number 30 and Muniz is number 4. So if it was the 30 guy versus the 4 guy on any other sport, I'm going to go with the 4 guy. So give me Muniz decision. I don't know if it's going to be a submission just because of cardio factor. Both guys, what guy's going to blow their adrenaline under the lights on the main card. This is a crazy. I hate it on my picks too.
Exactly. You're taking a shot in the dark, and anyone who says they have a solid feed on this fight is bullshit. And this is a tough one for sure.
So give me Mina's decision.
So on DraftKings for Antonio, they both start with freaking A names. Mizu, 8,200 on DraftKings, minus 110 against Antonio Arroyo's 8,000 even. It's a coin flip on DraftKings.
Oh my gosh, no help anywhere.
No help, absolutely
I feel
anywhere.
like these odds are like my definitive decisions all day. That's how I feel about every fight on the card. Who knows? I guess it's a well-matched card.
Agreed. There's some big favorites. We've seen some.
Well, we're about to stroll into.
Definitely. So one that's got a lot more tape in it. Much bigger veterans in here. At 155 pounds, we have Charles Oliveira coming in against Jared Gordon. Jared Gordon being 15-3. Finally getting a win in there after a 2-fight losing streak, beating Dan Moret. Prior to that, he did have a couple wins in the UFC against Quinones, showing us that high-level wrestling in there, beating Diaz. But losing to Diego Ferreira, which all of a sudden doesn't look so bad, and also getting a loss in there to Joaquin Silva, TKO. That one was a dogfight in there. Gordon likes to get in brawls. He likes to throw absolutely absurd volume, and that's where he tries to stifle his opponents, is he will literally throw, I think it's like 6 punches or more a minute on average, tends to have really high output. He can even mix up takedowns in there, comes from that wrestling background. When he does get on top, he likes to throw a lot of volume as well. So as far as DraftKings, he really can rack them up. Going into these longer decision type of fights, he can finish you even later because his legendary gas tank. But walking into these against Silva, it showed where if this guy sticks around in the third round and still has power, you just ate way too many shots. He just kind of Wolverines in there. And against Du Bronx in there, you can't be doing that type of shot. The Muay Thai for Oliveira has always been a highlight of himself. On the ground, we have always seen the type of spider monkey that he is. It's always been his mental game. It's always been same as Warley Alves. It's been kind of a theme. If his head's not in the game, he will tap to a carotid artery against Max Holloway. That did never happen. Never came up. He was good. It was just, okay, that's a finish. So there's been other times where he just kind of gives up position. And in a teammate of Paul Felder is Gordon. Felder will tell you exactly what you got to do. Get in this guy's face, beat him up, show him that you're not scared of him, and you can submit him. You can TKO him. And Jared Gordon can do this. It's just whether he can put on enough of a pace and hurt Oliveira enough to stay out of those submissions. I think inevitably, Gordon shoots when he gets half hurt, and I feel like Oliveira can hurt him with knees on the inside, if not even an elbow. And then on the ground, it's just the triangles are such high level. He's finally been putting it together. I think Oliveira can get the submission, but people that are taking a shot on Gordon, I don't think they're crazy. I'm going to probably end up putting a side bet on Gordon just because the value is absolutely there. I think the odds are way off on this, but I do have the favorite winning here. It's just there's no way he's a minus 330 against Jared Gordon. Jared Gordon has the tailor-made style, which is grind him out to be a Charles Oliveira. It's whether Oliveira breaks before he can get that submission or TKO in there. I got Oliveira, submission round number 2. Who do you have and why?
It's like, are you going to go with Gordon? Not a chance. I actually have Oliveira for all the reasons, except I'm going to talk him up a little more. Jared Gordon is a guy that's never kind of showed up for me in the UFC. He's never been one of my favorites. I always think he's overrated in most of his fights. I think the number's kind of dead on because what Charles Oliveira did is he got his submission game up to gold, but then he started relying on it too much, and then he got picked apart to the body, which Jared Gordon can do to him. He started to get picked apart in his fights and just give in. What the new Charles Oliveira that's been on his win streak has done is start to implement that Muay Thai so much more. So we're seeing him pick apart, using his distance to pick apart guys with leg kicks and keep them at range for the first part of the fight. And come the second part of the fight, when they can't use their legs anymore, he can do what he wants to them. So I just think we're seeing him work on other parts of his game now, and he's getting so big. He's starting to fill in too, where we got to see him get into his grown man body and just fill out and become that much stronger. I think Jared Gordon gets too emotional in there, and that emotion will get you caught up. I too have Charles Oliveira submission round 2, and I think it's pretty... He's going to set up the submission for round 2. It's not going to be because his skills couldn't get it in round 1, but he's going to do everything right like a chess game to set it up for round 2. And I will also say this. These two fighters, I am like 10% picking on both of them. They are like two of my worst fighters where I always get it wrong. So it makes me think that what you're saying could be... really valid with Jared Gordon, because I do have Oliveira submission round 2.
I agree. I think that on DraftKings and betting wise, yeah, it's dog or pass. Oliveira is just too steep. On DraftKings, he's going to be 9,400 against Jared Gordon 6,800. I feel like for 9-4, I don't know if I think I have even ownership. I'm going to play on DraftKings on either guy, honestly, because I don't see that. The bet that I would make would probably be it doesn't go to decision. I think it's a...
That's good, but I have Oliveira finishing, and so do you. I actually am going to have him on a lot of my cards. He could end up being my linchpin. I'll crown him. I'll have him crowned. He'll be on most of my cards, but I think I'll be able to afford him in most places. I might have Gordon on like 10 or 20%.
I'll have more ownership of Oliveira as well, but if you need one of those crazy lineups with extra money left over, Jared Gordon, I feel like if he does make it into the second or third round, will be worth every cent with the volume he throws, because it's a lot. He doesn't sit there and throw 1 and 2 punch combinations.
And
it's
he would.
7 and 8.
Oliveira has that soft body. Jared Gordon's the guy that'll go for it. I just think to go for it, he has to get close enough to give that neck up to Oliveira.
That's what I'm worried about too. So definitely a fun one. Watch weigh-ins as well because it says Oliveira's 5'10" and Jared Gordon's 5'9". Oh, Jared Gordon's 5'6".
And Oliveira's 6'4".
Exactly. There's a big difference. And wait till you see it at weigh-ins. The line will probably get even bigger because people will be like, what? What's going on in there? Is he throwing that kid off a bus? You seen that video? That was crazy.
Is he throwing that kid off a bus? I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, all right. They'll know.
They'll
know. So, moving on to the co-main event, we have a profile fight in Mauricio Shogun Rua coming in against Paul Craig, the Bear Jew himself, 12-4. He's been a part of some of the biggest upsets of all time. Last getting a win over Vinicius Mauricio in their submission. He knocked him out standing. It was that ref who wanted to see Vinicius die in there. But the Bear Jew finally getting a couple wins in there. Beating Nenjukuwaki as well in there. Or Zenjuku losing to Menafield TKO. Bear Jew, great submission, especially off of his back. Amazing triangles, especially arm bars. If you go to the ground with him, he's just so long at 6'4". He really looks like he's a octopus down there. Striking-wise, it's gotten better, but don't think because he knocked out Vinicius that he's some kind of a striker. Because he's not. The better striker is Mauricio Shogun Rua. It's just that at these points of these guys' careers, Craig can take more shots. He can eat those shots and land the sloppier shots and do more damage. It's just because Shogun, who has been doing it since he was 21 in Pride, did all the long-time fighting stuff, has already been a part of the fight of all time with Dan Henderson, fight of the year contenders multiple times over. If there's someone who's going to suffer from CTE later on in life, it's Shogun Rua. I guarantee that, unfortunately. It's so sad. But he already looks like he's slowing down, had multiple surgeries, but we know what we get with this motherfucking sniper coming in here. We know what Rua has. One of the hardest left hooks in the game. He'll throw leg kicks when he gets it in there, but it's really his money shot is his left hand. He'll set up that right on the ground. He's always been a long time black belt, forever. He can go hard three. Even if he's gassed, Shogun Rua has proven that he can dig deep and throw those shots to finish his opponent. He's done it time and time again. He's taken a break off of his last win to Tyson Pedro 11 months ago, where he was a big underdog, took a beating, where a lot of us were thinking he wasn't going to be able to, but win or lose, I love these long layoffs now at this point in his career, and I think that I want to pick Shogun Rua. I absolutely want to pick him, but everything in my body is telling me that I got to go Craig TKO round number 1. That's what I have right now. I'm talking myself into Rua. I don't know. I'm so torn at this 205 bout. The better fighter here, Rua, the more seasoned guy. It's just that chin. Give me Shogun Rua decision. Give me a decision. I had a TKO Craig. I don't know if you can see my card. I had a TKO Craig earlier on in the week. But watching tape, watching everything, Vinicius is not even a Tyson Pedro level of fighter. So, give me
I
Shogun.
totally agree. I also think that if Paul Craig's going to win, it's going to be by submission. I think Rua just has ring IQ. It's next level at this point. He's having this Jim Miller resurrection kind of his career, even though it was a nasty Anthony Smith KO. It's Anthony Smith. I think he deserves respect of being one of the best guys in the division for sure. And Paul Craig is as great as, I love the Bear Jew. I don't know if I've ever picked Rua yet, but I have Rua here, and I actually think he's going to piece apart. He's going to keep Paul Craig at distance and piece him apart. I think he can finish the fight. Paul Craig, your famous saying, he doesn't like to get hit. Like, he's one of those guys that extra doesn't like to get hit. And we all know that. I like Rua decision. I think it's a smart pick. They all aren't Tyson Pedro fights. He does have knockouts in there. It is giving Paul Craig a lot of credit. I feel like Paul Craig's toughness is up there with Jean Volante's. He has better submissions, but he's like that kind of like...
Being compared to John Volante, I don't think has ever been a positive for most fighters, so...
Gosh, I do think he can finish this fight.
Who is in hoo-ah?
Yeah.
Hoo-ah!
I'm going to have KO, and I'm going to have... In the first round 2.
On DraftKings, the minus 250 favorite, Shogun Hua, 9,300 against Paul Craig's plus 200, 6,900. As far as DraftKings, I feel like this is... You got to play Craig here as well, like in the other fight. Like, there is potential for Craig, and if he is, he's going to be on that number 1 lineup. Hua, 9-3, he has to get a finish. You're calling for the finish. I'm saying a decision. How much do you think you're going to play either one of these guys on DraftKings?
Paul Craig's one of those guys that has quit in him. But the funny part is, this might be my fight. Ugh, I am not feeling good about this fight night.
Agreed.
Because even this one, both these guys, I have shit pick records with. I have shit pick records with both these guys. So, and I do see what you're saying. Paul Craig could snatch up that neck. Snatch up that. I mean, you have KO for Paul Craig. I would have him to get nasty guillotine or something. But Hua is so much better than the guys that Paul Craig's going against. So much better. Gosh, I even think he could finish it round 1. I have Hua KO round 2. I'm going to keep it.
So I'm going to probably end up going 20% Paul Craig, 10% Hua. Just because of the value there as far as if it's Paul Craig, I feel like it's got to be a finish round number 1 if it gets outside of that.
Paul Craig?
What's that?
6 weeks ago, he actually fought. That means his old ass is going through a camp and cutting weight again. And going to Brazil.
That was a tune-up with Moreira. He didn't get touched. He landed like almost 100% strikes and knocked that boy out. So, is a Brazilian going to get revenge? Probably.
No, he submitted him. Rear naked choke.
Yeah, but it was a standing TKO. He hit him with 2 or 3 uppercuts, and then the ref's like, what are you going to do? And Craig was even like, okay, I guess I'll get on top of him. So, it was a submission, but Moreira, it was
going to be his first TKO.
TKO. Right. But it was definitely an interesting bout, to say the least. So, interesting on DraftKings the way that one's going to go down. We're going to stay at 205 pounds for the main event, where we have Jan Blachowicz coming in against Rolando Jacare Souza. We just got to see Jacare in his last outing over in Florida, where he lost to our boy, Jack Hermanson. We were the only people cheering in the crowd. Literally, people going home because they didn't want to see Jacare in the tenure of his career, unfortunately. At 26-7 and 39 years old, he's just shown he really slowed down. You saw it, even though that last fight he had with Hermanson was his highest strike output ever, going over 100 strikes. It was a slow 100 strikes. I never felt like he got into that. He does have a second gear, but he doesn't have a third or fourth gear, especially at this point of his career on the ground. We know what we're getting with Souza. Amazing black belt who can submit you any which way, and it's just the point he's at in his career. He has been training in the States. I think he went to Brazil a little bit early.
And this is his first fight at 205, right?
I think this is. How have people been doing from 85 at 205? Weidman. Rocco.
Yeah, it hasn't been great.
It hasn't worked out as well as we thought it was gonna. So I think this is Souza doing the same thing as those guys, trying to give himself a little bit of oomph in the career, where we have, one of them slender 36 Jan Blachowicz.
The boys to men. Although we've come to the end of the road. It's weird because Jan is only 3 years younger, but it is every bit of the 3 years that matters.
Jan Blachowicz fought in the United States and looked flabbier than he ever has. Hasn't fought in the States since and has been as shredded as we've ever seen him. Look at photos if I'm making that up. I might even splice one together and be like, 3 fights ago, Jan Blachowicz was Jeff Novinsky approved. So now that he's definitely like the fight abroad, it's been different. It's been very, very different in there. Jan Blachowicz getting a few wins in there, beating Jared Cannonier, Jimmy Manuel, losing to Thiago Santos only, but last coming in with a huge win, left hook, ground and pound against Luke Rockhold 4 months ago. I mean, he had that fight everywhere, showed that he was bigger than Rockhold, and Rockhold, I would even potentially have over Jacare right now. I think that's a coin flip of a fight. So if Jan Blachowicz can put together a game plan where he keeps this where he wants to striking, Jacare has power, but he's only a 1 and 2 punch combination guy. We especially saw it with Hermanson. Jacare doesn't throw anything other than maybe a double jab into a right hand and a reverse of that. But there's no trap set up where Jan Blachowicz left kick, hellish left kick in there. He's crumpled many of people. Ask Latifi in there. We'll even go up high to it, but just has a much more varied attack, much more light on his feet, has been constant at 205 and shown that he has a good gas tank where
Thiago Santos.
That's the only finished loss he has.
No, that's the only person that moved up to 205 from 185 where it worked out good.
But he wasn't on the tenure of his career. He's still up and coming, where Souza's more in this Weidman Rockhold.
He's older, isn't he? Like 36 or something? Wouldn't you put him with the Jan Blachowicz? Like
I would agree. Yeah.
Still, he's true. In like the end of the prime.
Could be.
Could be not.
Could be.
Could be not.
So, give me Jan Blachowicz, TKO, round number 3. Maybe we go into 4, but I want to say I saw some quit out there against Hermanson in person. In real life, I saw that, and it'll change a man when you see that.
But he just kept going forward. And
trying the same thing and not getting any different.
Going forward and not doing anything different. And I definitely give Souza, like if Souza went against Rockhold, I think Souza would beat Rockhold too. I'm interested to see Ronaldo at a heavier weight, but Jan's my boy. I ride or die with Jan. I think it's going to go to decision just because I felt like the Hermanson fight, like if Ronaldo was my boy, I might have been like, you're not going to do anything out there. I might have thrown in the towel in the 4th. Like there was no way he was going to turn the Titanic around. It was not going to happen. He was losing every part of that fight. And I think Jan can do really much of the same as Hermanson, except with more, dare I say, more power than Jack Hermanson, especially like you're saying, the way his body's been shredded. He has nasty leg kicks. It's going to be like watching somebody beat up Harambe. That's what I feel like with Ronaldo Souza in there. That's what he just looked like. He was going forward, like not lifting his arms up in the fight. I couldn't believe it made it to decision, but especially in Brazil, I think it makes it to decision. At 205, they don't have to throw as many.
But it has to be then decided for Blachowicz, because if it's close, it's got to go to Souza being the local guy here.
I don't think so at all. I think it will be decided like 4-1.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. 4 rounds
to 1.
Totally. On DraftKings, the decided favorite here, minus 215, Jan Blachowicz, 8,900, coming in against Jacare Souza's 7,300 plus 175. Wow, I'm really surprised there. I don't know why I didn't see that line earlier, that Jacare is that big of an underdog. It's really surprising. I would have thought it was much closer than that, honestly.
Maybe it's just the age that you're saying.
Right? Like a lot of people see what we saw, and it's just like Souza doesn't look like the old Souza. But they are in Brazil. He could be having some of that acai berries in his drink.
That's what I would do if I was the UFC. I'd keep him in Brazil and just feed him all the good juicy juice berries.
It would help his career out.
EP oranges.
It would help his career out for sure. I got Jan Blachowicz TKO round number 4. You got decision. We went all the way from the first one to the last one. We got our Fight Pick Championships out there. We're letting you know. We're putting you on notice. We know you're scared. We know why you're liking and subscribing. We appreciate all y'all out there.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's all I got to say about that.
Let me!